Oh, I think we're live now.
I think we did.
I think it's a thing. Wow. All right. Week 83 on November 3rd. And with our favorite people to hang out with today, the Becker family crew, Facebook live crew, and got an amazing exclusive release just for you guys that we put together for this never before tasted wines together in this kind of a setting ever, which is amazing. So first we've got the wines here, which is the 2019 Barbera, right?
Mm-hmm.
2019 Barbera, 2019 Cabernet Sauvignon Reserve. That's from the Great State Wines, and then the 2019 Zinfandel. So just amazing. Really excited about having these together with y'all to share these tonight. And the panel. So tonight we have our illustrious winemaker, John Leahy. We've got right there. We've got Nicole Vendelane, the head of marketing and public relations, and then we've got Kaylin that does everything and anything, all Becker Vineyards all the time, and then myself, Bobby Totten, the wine club director here, and we are excited to share these wines once again with y'all to enjoy these together. And John, if you'd like to share something with us tonight, as you always have beautiful words to share with us. I'm excited and
My words aren't very pretty tonight. Well, first of all, Bobby, I want to make mention this is week 83, like you said before. So raise our glasses to the folks that have been with us every week. Cheers for hanging out. And I actually am looking forward to, this week we've got several good wines. We also have a few coming up in the next 2 months, a few really good releases, stuff that we've bottled this last summer and spring. So they finally have reached their bottle age time to be released. And I'm looking forward to that. And I thought this was a great idea in order to introduce these wines through this virtual tasting. So if you have the pack, and I know a particular friend of mine in North Carolina has the pack. This particular friend has a very white cat who texted me. The cat texted me. So you've got a very, very clever cat, Sarah. Anyway, I want to lift my glass. Helen is joining us. Cheers from Granbury. We got a few other people. Betty's on here. Hey, do you know a lady named Belinda by any chance? Your volume, Caitlin.
I know. I'm sorry. I was looking on the Facebook comments and then I forgot I had muted myself. But yeah, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. And Debbie, welcome again from Weatherford. So we got a lot of and Gary's on. So Gary, I expect lots of good comments and nothing smart alecky. No.
Great banter.
Yes, they're gonna happen. So Nicole, you are joining us again, and I have to say I always like having you on here. One, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Nicole has got a great palate. One, we all know that, but two, she's been around with Becker since almost the very beginning. So she is our historian, our marketer, our everything, and it's always wonderful to have you here. I personally am looking forward to giving you lots of hard time tonight. So, because you can't hit me, we're 14 miles apart. So, anyway, I want to start with the 2019 Barbera from the Talent Vineyards. And as all of you know, Drew Talent is one of our long-term growers, and he and his wife, Laura, absolutely fantastic folks up there in Mason County. And his Barbera has always been a joy to deal with. This is only the second time in the last 10 years that we've made a single vineyard designate Barbera. So cheers. If you haven't purchased it yet, come by the winery and grab a glass or grab a few bottles. If you buy 6 bottles, I'll come out and say hi. Now, Nicole, would you like to kick it off with this Barbera?
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I think this one's got a nice, it has a nice smoky nose.
Mm-hmm.
As far as its body, it's going to be kind of light to medium bodied. It's got a beautiful kind of a cherry cherry red kind of color to it. And it's got, I think one of the fun things about Barberas is it has low tannins, but it has a high acidity, but not high acidity in the fact that it kind of gives you that briarly characteristic, kind of grabs your tongue a little bit. And it does have some cherry notes to it. It's got a little bit of raspberry. And then there's also a little bit of vanilla notes to this wine as well.
Yeah, it's got a great nose, doesn't it?
It does.
It's sure.
I always hate saying things like that because people are like, sure, what else are you going to say? But
But it's while we've been sitting here letting it open up, there's sometimes people think only a full-bodied wine can have lots of layers to it, but this one has lots of layers. As you're waiting a few seconds, it's peeling through and you're getting some different aromas, different flavors too.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things that I enjoy about Barbera, Barbera on its own will not last that long. So it is not a red wine that will last years and years and years in bottles. It's extraordinarily light in the tannin. It does not have a lot of tannic structure by itself. However, blended with some other more tannic wines, has produced some brilliant Italian blends. And here in the New World, Barbera has found a standing on its own, first of all, because of what you suggested, Nicole, on the nose, those fruit notes coming forward. But two, it has, as a red wine drinker, I love big, bold wines, and I always will. But there are days where I want red wine, but I want something a little softer. I want something, not in your face, just tannic monster. I want something that evolves in the palate, evolves with food, that allows me to enjoy the glass without having that drying feeling in the mouth. And I think Barbera fits the bill. However, it's a very fickle wine to make. That's why only 2 in the last 10 years.
And what does that? What are some of the reasons that make it fickle? Is it strictly varietal, or is it a combination of varietal and climate where it's at?
Well, climate certainly, and any given year, the weather has a lot to do with it. And if you ask Rachel, our assistant winemaker, a wonderful enologist, and someone who's been responsible for the Talent Vineyard for the last several vintages too. So, Rachel puts her heart and soul into a lot of these wines, and I come behind her and change everything. So it's a great way to frustrate someone. I think Rachel would tell you the reason the wine is so fickle is because I keep putting my nose where it doesn't belong and messing everything up. Honestly, it is very subject to any kind of weather change. I also think that after you harvest it, if you accidentally sneeze in front of it or hiccup, it shuts down. It's kind of like Pinot Noir in that respect. It really is the weather. Very subject to that. It doesn't make bad wine necessarily. It just, there's that little extra oomph that you need in order for that wine to stand by itself on its own. Not every wine is complete in the palate, and the way I measure the palate is front, middle, and back, and I give it a number. 1 and 2 are the front palate, 3 and 4 are the middle, 5 and 6 are the back, how it finishes. As much of a grading score as I'll give any wine so that I know where it is on the palate. It's rare to find a 1 through 6. It's not quite as rare, but very difficult to find a 1 through 5, et cetera, et cetera. Barbera generally starts at 2 and ends at 4. It's a middle palate wine. It has fruit, it's got some good body, but it starts quick and ends quick. And what you want is something that can start quick, but you want something a little follow through. And I think that's what we have here. Now, Kaylin, and not to interrupt you, Nicole, on going forward, but I noticed Kaylin keeps going back to the nose. So I'd be very interested in your opinion.
So I'm picking up something that reminds me almost of sour cherry, sour raspberries, something in that realm. Also some darker, more like bramble fruit, I would say. Also, maybe a bit of spice, like some nutmeg, maybe some anise, cloves, things of that nature. But it just smells so good. And I mean, it's beautiful on the palate as well. And I'm a big fan of Barbera, especially in this transitional weather. I know today is kind of the exception. It feels cold outside to me.
Yeah.
But just something that's light, easy drinking, that does not require extensive meal planning for me is very enjoyable after a long day at work.
I love the fact that as a true Texan, 55 degrees is cold to you.
Cold. Today I was like, it's gotta be close to 30 outside.
Right.
And no, I don't know what we're gonna do for winter. We being me and the mouse in my pocket, but
Right.
I'm concerned.
That's awesome. Bobby, you're sitting there very patiently. I love the fact that you kept that dartboard up on your office. And
Yes.
a little known fact for everybody, we actually try to hit the dartboard and not Bobby.
I mean, you know, it's kind of hard with his big mouth.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah, no, it's I would play with that thing in a while, or since I've been in this office, I've
Right.
actually, so it's time to get a game on, maybe a drinking game.
Yeah, no, no. The only drinking game you're allowed to play with darts are the old-fashioned lawn darts.
Safety first.
Yeah,
So what do you think of the Barbera, sir?
well, I mean, I'm almost out of it.
Somehow, I think right behind that wall, there may be a case or two more.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I give myself just a little bit just to kind of taste, but it's so good. I mean,
Right.
tasting it and just how Nick Cole's so right, how it's just developed since it's been open and since we're swirling it and letting it just kind of
Mhm.
breathe. There's so many characteristics and layers to it. I mean, definitely Kalen, you know, getting that bright fruit and then the spices. I'm getting a little bit of like toasted vanilla on the nose.
Yeah.
Like that, so a little bit of that smoky characteristic with that toasted vanilla. So
I
it's
think that, yeah.
was that?
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. It's just it's really beautiful. And then on the palate, I mean, you kind of get that sneak up right on the finish as well.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, I think that the vanilla that you and Nicole mentioned, or was it? I'm sorry if I gotten that wrong.
One of
Kayla.
us.
Yeah, I apologize. But that vanilla actually, I think, is coming from the American oak, the newer American oak that this was aged in. So that's one of the savory characteristics that American oak gives versus French oak. French oak tends to be much more savory, darker notes overall, and American oak has a brighter, sweeter, vanillin, sweeter edge. Not sugar sweet, just sweeter, brighter. You know, that's the complex portion of our language. We can use sweet to mean both sweet on the palate and sweet as in alive or fresh. But American oak tends to accentuate those sweeter notes in the wine, where French oak tends to accentuate the savory notes. That's all I was trying to say.
So percentage on this Barbera, does it have a little bit of Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot kind of, or Tannat kind of to beef it up a little bit on the back of the palate?
Yes, it does. It has a tiny amount of Petit Verdot and a tiny amount of Petit Syrah, both in there. Yeah.
Nice.
So those darker notes, and I know. Debbie, you just stepped into it because you mentioned that you opened up the bottle an hour ago and that you were really surprising complex body. I expect more comments from you, Debbie, on what you think of the wine. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to make fun of you online. But it does, you know, it's over 88% on the Petit Verdot, over 88% on the Barbera, and there's just a couple percentages of a few other things to accentuate the fruit. But
Right.
that is the art, that gets back into the art of wine blending. And I know there have been some discussion points about people blending wines, people what they want from wines, and using the term blending when we're discussing winemaking becomes a heavy point for some folks. So they're like, I want 100% single varietal, single vineyard. And I'm like, well, that doesn't always make the best wine. The goal here is to make the wine as best we are able to accentuate those or really focus in on those qualities that the Barbera offer. So, and some of those other wines or wine grapes that we use in those blends are just literally flavor enhancers for what the Barbera is doing. And that's the art of blending. anyway, back to you, Nicole, because I want you to give us a little background with Drew Talent. So I know you've dealt with him for a number of years, and do you remember when Drew first started growing for the winery?
I think it was about either like 1998 or 2000. I don't have the date exactly right,
Right.
but I do, what does strike me is that he was actually one of the few people that I had met that had actually come out to wineries and had asked, like, what kind of grapes, what do you use? What kind of grapes do you need for wine? What kind of varieties? And at that particular time, most of the people that we ran across had already had varieties planted, and it was something that they had chosen, but it wasn't necessarily what a winery might be using. And so I thought, so he had come around and checked on what people were doing. And but he's about 45 minutes north of the winery. And he's about, I guess it's about 10 miles north, slightly northwest of Mason, Texas. And the small community he's closest to is Camp Air. Some of you might be familiar with Camp Air. And but he's got
a show of hands.
I always think it's fun to hear the stories of the small towns, or maybe I should say small communities, and the different changes people have gone through. But he was one that I would always say, when the wine bug bites, it bites deeply, because he was looking at a retirement project. He thought, well, maybe growing grapes would be easier than raising cattle or other livestock, and maybe it would be easier than growing peanuts. And then when he got into it, he realized, no, it's still a lot of work. And then, and the reason I say the wine bug bit deeply is he started adding on to his vineyard, and he does really well. He's has some of the same varieties we have here growing here at Becker Vineyards, but then of course has some other varietals as well. But a beautiful vineyard, and it's got some parts of it are kind of flat. And then he's got, I guess it's on the western side there, it kind of goes up into a slope, and he has a great view of his vineyard. It's really spectacular. Several of us went out there to get the tour from him, but it's gorgeous right there on, I guess that's 87 North. 87.
Yep. Yeah, on the way up towards Brady. So yeah, it's a great vineyard. I've always enjoyed. I really like Drew's dry sense of humor too. I remember a number of years ago, he got an unfortunate accident. He was chasing some deer out of the high fence. It's on his four-wheeler, an accident, and he broke some ribs, and was not feeling too well. And so we all said, we could chip in and buy you a gun to hunt the deer instead of hunting it with your four-wheeler if you want. But yeah, I'm personally convinced that Drew has probably forgotten more about grape growing than most people know in a lifetime. He's such a wealth of knowledge. And anytime anyone decides to try to grow grapes in the hill country, we always try to direct them towards Drew. He's an extraordinarily nice gentleman, and is always very happy to chat with people, especially if they're getting into, if they're existing farmers and getting into grapes, or, first time getting into grapes. He's a wonderful resource. And of course, I can't complain about his fruit. He supplies us with a lot of great fruit. I think we get about 150, 180 tons of fruit from him every year. So we very much enjoy it. So Debbie, I'm going to go back to this because Debbie, thank you for typing in. She said she gets some dark cherry with the smooth finish. So do we be nice to Debbie, or do we put her on the hot seat again?
Yeah. We got to be nice to Debbie.
Yeah, you got to be nice to Debbie. Okay, but I was threatened earlier by Charles, who said, watch out for drones. I'm like, you can only take that as one way. Yeah. All righty. And Laura is letting us know that Barbera is the best. Laura, I'm going to raise my glass to you. You're absolutely right. It is the best. Looks like Zucchini Cat likes Barbera too, huh?
She is really wanting the attention of everybody right now. I've muted myself because she's trying to talk, and she's not as well versed in wine. yet. We're working on it. We're still working on expanding her vocabulary, but we're a little limited. She's not the greatest speaker of English yet.
I
First,
see.
that's all yay.
It's certainly a second language we're trying to pick up.
Yeah, I think my cat may have hit the Barbera a little too heavy. He's over in the corner, fast asleep. So pretty sure, yeah, he might have a problem.
Yeah, right.
You gotta watch out. You gotta watch out for those cats. They're
It's
sharp.
better than Jameson.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah. So I'm trying to reach over here to get rid of the glass on the bar top here. Any other questions or concerns about the Barbera? Does anybody want to add anything else to it? So Bobby, one last thing. So are we releasing this Barbera now in the tasting room? Do you know, or are we getting ready to?
This
Oh,
was,
everybody's shaking their head.
yeah, this is exclusively for our Facebook family
Okay.
to enjoy. It's possible to go out in the wine club shipment in December, but we have to wait and see. So
I don't like this. I like to be able to give secrets away, especially around the holidays. Like,
well, I mean, it's something for wine club members to look out for, and for people to join the wine club to see exclusivity for first pick of the purchasing of these wonderful wines that we're tasting tonight.
okay, Nicole, any last comments on the Barbera?
Let's see. No, I think that's it for now.
Okay. Kaylin, you good?
I think so. I'm excited to get into the Zen.
Zucchini, are you good with the Barbera?
She's taken she's done with the limelight. She's done. She wants nothing to do with me anymore.
Right.
Now that I showed her face on camera, she's out of here.
Good. I had her 15 minutes. All righty. Shall we go on to the Zinfandel 2019? Perfect. Pick up your glasses, give it a swirl, a sniff, and a taste. Oh man.
Right.
I do have to make one comment. After making Zinfandel in Northern California for years, from both North Coast and the Sierra foothills, there are many similar characteristics in Zinfandel. A lot of people know the bramble fruit and the tobacco. To me, Texas Zinfandel always really accentuates the tobacco edge, which I find very, very interesting, because it goes from tobacco to the pyrazine goes from tobacco to earth, mushroom edge instead of the fruit head. Aha! Everybody- Don't know if you can see behind me. See that little chest?
Yes,
Yeah. Anyway, the tobacco note is really forward in this.
definitely.
Kaylin, what do you think?
It smells absolutely beautiful. There's something on here that reminds me a bit of rhubarb, like a strawberry rhubarb pie. But it just smells really, really, really lovely. Certainly, I'm picking up a lot of bright red fruit, but also bramble fruits. There's something that's maybe got a cinnamon edge to it. But I think it's beautiful. And it is also something that I think is perfect for this fall time period that we're in, and maybe good for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of my favorite things to do with Zinfandel is to use it to make pot roast.
Oh,
Yeah, but we won't talk about food till later, but that's just your warning that you've got to come up with food. So Bobby, what do you think of the Zen?
It is amazing. I'm definitely getting like that tobacco leaf, but I'm also getting almost like a hint of like hibiscus, like a hibiscus tea.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a little bit of like an orange zest, almost like a citrus zest characteristic.
Now, are you smelling wine or an agua fresca?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great spritzer.
No, I agree. I agree with the citrus zest and everything. This is great. It's like,
yeah. No, but the palate, it's just so bright and floral, and it's really enjoyable. I mean, I know about like the California Zins, they can be deep and dark and chewy, but I think this one just how it showcases the brightness of the fruit is just really nice.
And so Nicole, before I get your opinion on the wine, I just want you to know that Charles is trying to blame you for the impending drone attack on my house. So, yeah.
Hey, he was also, I don't remember the name of it. He's gonna have to reprint it for you, but he had some kind of shortbread or baked bread that Irish, some kind of Irish bread for you.
Yeah,
I think
soda bread.
Soda bread.
It wasn't soda bread.
It
No,
wasn't soda bread,
It was
Okay.
something different.
like an
It was
oat bread. or-
weren't familiar with.
Okay. Well, I will look forward to that, but I'm now keeping an eye out for drones. So
Maybe he's bringing the bread to you. Maybe the
hey,
drone will
there you go. Drone delivery service.
drone. Yeah, that's the next thing on Amazon's list.
Yeah, I do. Hey, Charles, don't get in competition with Jeff. He's really jealous.
Yeah, yeah. He owns some property down here too, so
Yeah. So Nicole, what do you think of the Zinfandel?
I think it's delicious. It's got a beautiful ruby red color to it. And I think on the nose, I think I kind of pick up a little bit of green tea. Also pick up a little pyrazine, a little bit of allspice. And then I think as far as flavors, I pick up kind of like a Lunden's lozenge.
Oh, okay. All right.
And also a little bit of black pepper, but it seems like the Texas Zinfandels aren't as strong in black pepper like in other parts of the world. But that doesn't make it does not make it unattractive. And it also has kind of a chewy texture to it. It's a little bit on the chewy side. And all delicious, all good.
Yeah, well, that black pepper and tobacco are the same, come from the same constituent, but I agree. It expresses itself less pepper and more, to me, more earth or tobacco, which I find very interesting because, a lot of these constituents are the same chemical, the same pyrazine or the hexene or the phenolics are very, very similar, but I always find it interesting how they express from one growing region to the next. It's fascinating. And even within Texas, because we have such a broad selection of growing regions here and literally hundreds of miles apart, and you get these brilliant subtleties, in the high plains that you don't get in the hill country, or you get these wonderful rose and gardenia aspects to some of the hill country whites that you don't get from the high plains. I mean, it's this wonderful thing to go through every year. Getting to know the grapes and getting to know the region has been an absolute joy for the last 10 years for me. It's been a wonderful adventure so far. So, but I have to wholeheartely agree with you. There's a lot less pepper in this Zin, which for me, not having pepper, it's like, can it truly be Zinfandel if there's no pepper? It's that little voice in the back of your head, but it's wonderful. And just in case he comes on, this is from Jet. So if he makes an appearance on Facebook Live, we got to cut it down and not say anything too complimentary. No.
Does Jet do his Zinfandel in the sprawl, that traditional sprawl? It looks like Cousin It, or does he put his on a trellis?
No, he's trellised. That Cousin It sprawl, those head pruned Zinfandel vines. Yeah,
it just looks like to me.
Yeah. No, but for me, that head prune is when they're over 40 years old. That's usually when people let them off the trellis and go.
Okay.
Now, some people have planted to deliberately do head pruning, but head pruning is probably the most difficult thing to keep a vineyard, to do in a vineyard, because it's so time consuming. And I've got a really good friend, John Phillips, who has some extraordinarily old Zinfandel vines in California, and they're all head pruned, and it takes him forever to go through his vineyard, get those.
Oh.
It's wonderful stuff. And there's some Zinfandel we made for a number of years from 120-year-old vines, and they produced maybe 1.5 tons per acre, but they're all head pruned and absolutely gorgeous. The fruit was incredible, but talk about the pain in the neck to keep them going.
Yeah, I was about to ask that if the head pruning, that it would be lower yield than the.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're talking also, most of the head pruned vines, not all, but most of them aren't even irrigated, so they're dryland farmed. So
Wow.
Mm. And I'm telling you what, Jet Wilmoth can grow some damn good fruit. It's, oh,
He also likes to make bananas Foster too.
yes, he does.
Favorite recipe, right?
Oh. Hey, Kaylin, Betty wants you to know that your cat's stealing the show.
I know. Well, I'm trying to keep her calm in my lap right now because there's several bottles of wine to the right, several very delicate glasses to the left. It's a touch and go situation. She also still wants to talk. She
Yeah.
came back for the Zinfandel. She's
I
not
see.
finished.
I see. That's hilarious. So, so who have I not called on the Zinfandel?
Bobby,
No, I mean it's yeah, I'm enjoying it. Just that the pyrazine characteristic, definitely like the little bit of that green pepper as well that just kind of sneaks up in there.
You know, it reminds me a little bit of Cab Franc on an edge. Because
Yeah.
the tobacco's so dominant in this end. Yeah.
What's the composition on this? Is it,
So I knew you were going to ask me, and I have to go to my trusty app.
sorry, Vintrace is handy.
A brilliant piece of software, if you ask me. And I love using it because every time I do something new in it, it makes Rachel's job so much harder. And she keeps telling me to stop helping so much. So, let's see here. Alrighty, give this a little time to come up here. So we've got Zin, the dominant amount. There is just a touch of Tanat in there, and very little, like basically 2% of Cinsault. So, yeah, just 3.5 percentage points of anything other than Zinfandel in there.
I'm getting a little bit of a fennel as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I know what you mean by the fennel. I'm getting a little green edge in there. This is going to be a very wonderful wine to deal with food. There's going to be a lot of things that it'll go with.
That's really what I'm excited for.
Right? Right?
My favorite things.
Exactly. Oh. Your cat's tail is very expressive, according to some folks online.
It is. And I just want it to be known. She is up to a whopping 14.8 pounds. So
Nice.
she's not a delicate creature. She's quite chunky, quite loud, and very friendly. And usually she's pretty well behaved during these tastings. And today she's showing out. I think it's because of the rain.
Yeah. I have a 17-pound mountain lion that is asleep currently in the dining room. So
See, Zucchini is not the length of a mountain lion. She's the length of your standard toaster. So she's robust in the center.
I see robust in the center.
Yes, her center of gravity is an interesting thing that we get to see regularly. So
That's awesome.
So what comes to mind is the cat's tail and the Zinfandel.
The cat's tail and the Zinfandel.
it could be a really good song.
It could be.
There you go.
I'll work on it, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, folks, you can keep asking your questions if you have any. Otherwise, I think we're going to move on to unless anybody has anything else about the Zinfandel you want to add, any final commentary? Nicole, Bobby, Kaylin?
No.
Okay. Shall we move on to the piece de la resistance? Our absolutely wonderful 19 Cabernet Reserve. So this is out in the general marketplace for anybody that wants to go find it. You can certainly find it at wine shops throughout Texas and any of the finer grocers that carry wine. Bobby, would you kick it off for the Cabernet?
Yes, love to. So yeah, I get a lot the pyrazine composition, so that green bell pepper floral characteristic, almost green olive. A little bit of anise on the nose as well.
Mhm.
Mm. On the palate, just hits right away with that bright raspberry, a little bit of plum,
Mhm.
and then dark chocolate and mocha, just kind of right on the finish. It's a beautiful wine.
Oh, it says, Debbie says she has the 2017 Cab Reserve. Did we perhaps mix some stuff up here? I thought it was the. hold on.
I have a small inkling that may have happened since I too have the 2017 Cab Reserve.
Oh,
So
my
Debbie,
goodness.
you and I are drinking the same beverage right now, but it's beautiful. So I feel like obviously because they're different vintages, I'm picking up different things than the rest of the crew. But
Right.
Debbie, you and I have the same here. From the feedback I've had from my colleagues, I think that this vintage that I have carries a bit more violet, maybe some allspice and bramble fruit, but it's beautiful too. We will make it right with the 19 cab. You and I can do this later. Again.
Yeah, I am sorry, Debbie, that we messed that one up for you. I think we might owe you a little Cabernet.
Absolutely.
This the the 2017, might I add, was an extraordinarily good year. So I don't think you're suffering from the Cabernet. But this.
Yeah, 17 was an amazing year, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it really was. You know, we're just getting into some of the 17s. I'm looking so forward to 2027 to be able to try those 17s to see how everything survived the decade. But
Right.
yeah, that was the prime vintage year in the last decade here, anyway. So Nicole, what do you think of the 19?
I think I picked, one of the things I notice a lot in Texas Cabernets is they have a lot of raspberry notes. And I would say on this one, it's a very concentrated raspberry. And then I think some of the aromatics are also like plowed earth. There's also some baking spices. And then as far as on the palate, I do still pick up the raspberry notes. And then I also pick up some tar notes, and then also some vanilla with the wine. And it's got great, Dr. Becker always likes to use the description as great grip. So it's got some nice tannins without being overpowering.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because I'm still dealing with the, just getting into the really heart and soul of the 2019 vintage now. And I was just going through the next Texas Reserve Cabernet, the 2019 vintage. And I'm tasting this, and it's kind of nice to go to this one and think, wow, that's there's some consistency in the 19 vintage. It's very, very nice. Okay, Kaylin, you're kind of off the hook now that you totally lied about having the 2017 vintage.
I would never.
Oh, man.
So I believe last week we touched on a word and now I can't remember it. Well, I think I remember it, but I'm not confident in my ability to say it correctly. Is it creosote? Is that what we had talked about last
Creosote?
week?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm picking up quite a bit on that of that on the 17 as well. There's certainly quite a bit of floral aromatics going on, but on the palate, I'm picking up creosote, and I don't know if that was because of y'all mentioning it and it's swaying what I was picking up on the
Right.
wine, but I'm thinking there's probably definitely some congruency between these two vintages, and now I think that tomorrow we'll have to do like a little mini tasting
Sure.
of the 19x to the 17, just so I can be well-rounded in my knowledge of the wines. It'll be a tough day at the office, guys.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, so Bobby, creosote.
I like that word. It's
I
good.
well, I think it's a great word actually, and it's very apropos in certain Cabernets too. I'm trying to look up. I'm trying to look up the composition here. My handy dandy little pocket computer is not doing as well as it should.
Yeah.
It's weird when the electronic notepad isn't doing what you need it to do.
Right? Actually, I think I got to it last time through this. There we go. It's funny, if you don't type the exact wording the way it's listed in the inventory, it really doesn't come up very well.
Computer software is finicky that way.
It is. Okay. Yeah, so, oh, it does have a little bit of Merlot and Petit Verdot and Cab Franc. So we are kind of a classic Bordeaux blend here. 3% on the Cab Franc, 4% of Petit Verdot, and 9% on the Merlot. And then the balance is Cabernet. So. Mostly high plains, 72% high plains, 27% hill country. I think that's right. Yeah, yeah. Talent Vineyards and Jet Wilmoth Vineyards, those two are the primaries. Then we've got a little bit from the Canada family, a little bit from Reddy, and a tiny amount from Amancer, which is Steve Newsom's place. So very, very nice. Okay. And Bobby, you were muted. Shall we?
Yeah,
go to
I
Nicole
was,
and
just,
get
I
her-
was thinking
Sorry.
Steve Newsom. It's
Yeah. Oh no, he's a wonderful guy. Yeah. He's
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah. No, it just I know we've gotten a lot of Malbec and Merlot from him in the past, and like the Montessori Vineyards, the 14 Inverno, and
Mhm.
it's kind of going back.
Okay. There we go. I think I did something. I accidentally hit the Facebook page and it totally shifted, and I got lost on the comments. I had to get them back.
It's rough.
Yeah, it is rough, especially when you have big sausage fingers and you hit something. You're like, what the hell did I do? Yeah.
See, I bring the handy dandy mouse so I can pretend that I'm not shifting between 17 windows.
Right.
Helpful tool.
Oh goodness. You know, I like the way that you mentioned creosote in the 17, because now I'm getting a little bit of tar dark notes. So that's, again, back to pyrazines. It almost seems like I harp on those, but you know, I'm getting a little bit of just a faint edge of violet or rose petals. So 2-ethylglycol, 2-ethylphenol.
What were those words you just said?
That's not important. I shouldn't even say them. It's just violet or rose petal.
I know, but I like the other good words too.
2-ethylglycol or
Okay.
2-ethylphenol.
Okay.
Mhm.
I won't remember them, but
It
I'm going to
doesn't
pretend
matter.
I'll take them,
You know what?
take
There are
notes now.
like 200 people that actually use them on a regular basis, and that's it. And
And that's okay. If someone ever says those things to me, though, there's a good chance I might go, was that rose petals or violet? And then I could be so cool.
there you go. Yeah, and that's all I do. I mimic.
I can't remember.
Oh. My goodness. Dark cherry. There's just that, it's almost like raspberry leaf. This is going to sound odd. How many of you have actually consumed raspberry leaf tea? Anyone?
I've heard of it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I have a 1-gallon jar of it in the kitchen.
Bring it on.
And that, again, doesn't matter because I have got a lot of gallon jars of all sorts of different herbs in the kitchen. None of them really, really fun. All of them very legal.
That is also what I would say.
Yeah, right. Keep it on the
Don't travel out of the country with those.
Yeah, no, it's for smells and tasting. So a lot of different, anyway, it doesn't matter. I spend an inordinately large amount of time on smelling and tasting odd things. So
We had mentioned that last week about, going through grocery stores and picking things up and smelling things and, just kind of, saying that hones your mental, like, bank, that when you're tasting through wines and smelling through wines, that you can pick up these different, uh, sensory, uh, descriptor words
Right.
as you go on through tasting through wine, and be like, oh, I've smelt this before. Oh, I remember that I, did this and smelled this.
Yeah.
And
Well, one of the things we do when I do the Tasty Tuesdays with my guys down in production, one of the things we do is tannin identification of the different types of tannins that are in the wine. And one of the things I do is I brew up green tea, black tea, and roasted dandelion root tea. And those represent 3 forms of tannin, the flavor, and are very much similar, if not identical, to the 3 different types of tannin flavors that you'll find in a lot of wines, especially when you're dealing with wines that are freshly made versus well-aged, green versus aged wine. So it's really important to be able to identify what is proper or what is right, what you're looking for. The worst thing you can possibly do is give somebody wine that's 2 or 3 months old in barrel. Here, taste this. And they're going to look at you like, do you even know what you're doing? This tastes, I mean, good God. And green wine is the worst thing in the world to taste. And it's the magic of time that suddenly it's like this brilliant piece of magical work that transmutes this green, gawky, disjointed thing into this beautiful, round, wonderful, developed glass of wine. And that is just time and the way the tannins form, the way everything comes together. But it's very, very important to taste through those things. So when I say raspberry leaf tea, I realize it's probably a little esoteric, but it really has that similar smell in here to me. And when people do that and they're like, I don't know what I should be smelling, I'm like, do you like it? Does it smell good? Are you going to get a second glass? Would you buy a bottle? I mean, you're the only one that can decide that for you. I think the problem, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but I think you and I have talked about this before, that one of the problems that we have, we've convinced people, as an industry, we've convinced people that wine is an extreme luxury good, when in reality, most wine, it should be an everyday beverage.
That's true.
Yeah. It should be on the table, with lunch and dinner. Not so much breakfast. Cabernet and scrambled eggs don't go well together. Trust me. Tried it too many times to argue that.
Pretty good.
I was gonna say anything with bubbles. That is certainly a breakfast beverage.
And also enjoyed with family and friends. I mean, that's
Right.
Yeah, but every time you throw a friend into the oven, they just scream.
Almost like they weren't ready for it.
that's a little constant Gretel.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So any further comments on the Cabernet?
Hey, John, do you want to touch off a little bit on Delistage? There might be some people not familiar with Delistage.
It's barnback bread. Okay, thank you, Gary. Sorry, Gary just wrote in and said, John, the treat was with Halloween, Samhain. It was the barnback bread recipe available at Spruce. Yeah, so thank you, Gary. Charles, I actually really, really do appreciate that. So Delistage. So to delistage a tank takes an awful lot of time. And when you tell your cellar guys to delistage the tank, they look at you like, why in God's green earth do you have to be so difficult? But I guess in a nutshell, what you're doing is you're trying to remove as many of the bitter tannins from the seeds as possible. So the way to do that when the red wines are in tank, during active fermentation, there's a lot of CO2 that is produced, and that pushes the grapes up and out of the liquid. And as that happens, the heavier seeds fall to the bottom of the tank, and a lot of detritus falls there. And what you do is you take that bottom valve and you open it wide, draining that tank pretty quickly, pumping that wine into an empty tank until all the liquid is out, and then just the grapes are left in there. You have filtered out through a screen as many seeds and detritus as you can. Then you take that wine and you pump it back over the top of the grapes. You do that once a day for a couple of days, and you've removed, and it's more or less a tannin management tool. If you need to use it, it's there. If you don't need to use it, we don't do it. But different. Delistage is much different than batonnage. In fact, the batonnage we use at the end of the process when everything's in barrel, and we're mixing the lees to keep them in suspension. So a couple of techniques for building mouthfeel and for tannin management. Some of these wines, like Cabernets, especially if you have some underdeveloped seeds, if you're going through and you crush the wine and you're looking at that and you're making this value judgment on the fly, hey, I got a lot of pink berry, or I noticed a lot of seeds breaking open. They're not quite fully brown or crunchy. They're a little underdeveloped and green. Then I know, okay, 5 days from now, I'm going to want to delestage that tank. I'm going to want to remove that as much as possible. So as the alcohol goes up during fermentation, it starts breaking away, that the bitterness and the tannins from those seeds start dissolving into suspension, and you want to remove that before that happens. So it's a timing issue more than anything. So try that after 77 days of standing there staring at grapes. Will the question about will the California wildfires affect the process? Yeah, the California wildfires have affected the California grape crop, and smoke taint is an actual real concern. And in California, if you try to sell grapes and wine as being taint free and they are tainted, you can get into an awful lot of trouble. So California, for its history, has a Department of Weights and Measures. So, and also they're very, very guarded on their wine industry, because it's a huge industry. So they take those things very, very seriously. And tainted grapes do not taste good. You know, I've had smoke tainted wine before, and it's a pretty god awful thing. You would think, oh, smoky like a barrel. No, it's completely different. It's bitter, disjointed, nasty horribleness. It does not taste good at all. So yeah, it has affected them. As far as those same years that they're having wildfires out there, yes, Texas has enjoyed several really good years of production. This year, our harvest was down as far as quantity goes, but quality was still there. We just didn't get as many grapes as we would like to. We purchased an awful lot of grapes here at Becker. We purchase about 12% of the Texas crop, which always makes it fun when somebody asks me, do you really make Texas wine? Buddy, yes. Not only do we make it, yes, we're one of the largest producers of it. The quality in Texas has been wonderful for the last 5 years. Now we did have a hiccup in 2019 at the end of the harvest year. We had that sudden freeze, and that affected 20 and 21 both. And that's the thing about grapevines. When they're growing, you've got these buds, the active bud and then the dormant bud. The dormant bud is this year, and the active bud is next year's fruit. So that active bud at the base, and then the dormant bud's what shoots out this year's crop, vine, and clusters, and each bud usually has 2 clusters in there. If they get frozen, they'll push a second time, and that second time they'll half the amount of fruit, only 1 cluster. They'll push a third time if they get frozen, and half that amount, so about a half a cluster. After that, if they freeze again, you're SOL. But it's possible to get those buds like late in the fall. You get the next 2 years, you freeze them hard and they die or get damaged, then you've lost almost 2 years worth of crop, or part of 2 years worth of crop. And that's what happened. So this year was that second year from the 2019 freeze that we dealt with for the low quantities. And people were asking, how did the February freeze? It affected very, very young vines and some older vines, but generally speaking, everything was dormant, low hydrostatic pressure, a couple of inches of ice before the snow and before the cold weather. So we came out of it okay. We did notice some of the Grenache that we had planted that prior spring did not wake up. About half of it didn't, but that was probably the worst. Everything else came along fine. Okay, are we done having me lecture everyone on
I think it's awesome.
That's it.
I don't know how I got from delestage to great quality, but yeah, there's that.
What we do.
Yes, exactly. Okay, guys, you can't get out of this part of the program if there are no other questions about this beautiful Cabernet. By the way, available out in the general marketplace for everyone. Food time. So, Kaylin, we're going to lead off with you because you were so excited about it.
Well, I am. So for the Zinfandel, I want Korean barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
I know that sounds so good. I'm probably not going to have it for a few weeks, but I'll come back eventually and let you guys know how that goes. for the Barbera, I feel like something really lovely, like a three cheese tortellini, or some type of beef ravioli would be fantastic. Just classic tomato sauce. And then for the cab, I got to do a really fun thing this weekend where I found a caramelized onion fig spread, and I put that on baked brie. And I think that's what I want with the cab. And it was very delicious. And zucchini, she co-signs all of my behavior. That's why she's 14.8 pounds. I'm kidding.
Nice. That fig and caramelized onion spread sounds really, really good.
So good. It was,
Yeah.
I think it was from Fisher Weezer.
Really? 'Cause
Mhm.
that sounds like it might be really good on like pork loin or roasted duck breast.
Yes.
Just saying.
I mean, or you could just eat it on cheese and you'll be
that would
fine.
be good too. Good on toast.
Yes.
Oh, Nicole, what do you think on food and pairings?
I was thinking for the Barbera, a chicken fried deer steak.
Oh,
Kind of deer, and then ode to Drew for that deer that got him in trouble back a couple ago. So
revenge cooking. I like it.
Yes.
Oh,
and then Zinfandel, I was thinking like lamb kebabs, have some pickles and just kind of put that on the grill.
Yeah.
Cabernet Sauvignon, I was kind of thinking of like eggplant parmigiana, or even like
Yes.
I usually lean to like a mousse style pate, but even some of the country pates are really fun with that wine too.
nice. That sounds wonderful. Bobby?
For the Barbera, maybe thinking something like with pesto, like a pesto tortellini kind of thing. With the Zinfandel, probably gyros, like a Greek gyro thing. And then for the cab, probably like a pork roast stew or a chuck roast stew. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You can say gyro or you can say hero like the rest of us.
I just don't know how to say it confidently, so I never say it out loud.
Right? You don't have to say it confidently. You just have to put the tzatziki on there in a piece of pizza
Yes.
and go to town.
I just
That's really what it's about for me.
Yeah, right. It all sounds wonderful. Absolutely.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I'm going to go with everything you guys just said, but I really, with that Zinfandel, am now honestly thinking of a slow done sirloin roast, like a pot roast with it's comfort food weather. You can't deny that. I am going to say with the Barbera, I'm going to go with an agrodolce style, even though it's Sicilian, an agrodolce style fish dish over some couscous. So, yeah,
I would go over to your house for that.
yeah, I would too.
Drones.
yeah, drones.
Drone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
So, what do we have online for next week, Bobby? As far as
Next week,
yes, sir.
it is.
It's my favorite.
Her favorite.
Yay!
Very excited.
Oh,
So we will be doing the 2018 Reserve Chardonnay from Drew Talents Vineyards.
Wow.
We'll also be doing the 2014 Raven,
Ooh,
and then also the 2015 Malmsey. I am so excited. I'm
Right
very
on.
excited to share them with everybody and talk about them. And then also, of course, talk with everybody about them.
yeah, absolutely.
super
Okay.
exciting.
Any updates that we need to be aware of at the winery, guys? Any upcoming events? Anything fun?
Always fun.
Always a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's Lubbock Uncorked coming up this Saturday in Lubbock, Texas,
Right.
and then also the Wine, Dine, and Jazz at Horseshoe Bay. Also,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I personally am looking forward to, if you guys haven't made it out to the winery this fall is one of my favorite times, that it's that quality of light, especially later in the afternoon, that kind of almost timeless quality I love about fall. And also to remind everybody, your clocks are going to set back this coming Sunday. So You know, it
It's
will
happening.
no longer be light at 7 a.m. So, that always throws me for the biggest loop. But, you know, I think one of my favorite things coming up, one, the Barbera and the Zin, both would do well with Thanksgiving coming on. And just as an aside, even though we haven't tasted them in a while, you know, we have that 2020 Saignée as well as the 18 Jolie. Both those rosés are dry and do extraordinarily well with a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. So
Oh, yeah.
looking for ideas, we've got them. But coming into the holidays, I just hope everyone out there, one, stay safe. Thank you to all of our healthcare workers and everybody working to keep us safe and sound. We very much appreciate it. And for everybody else, thanks for letting us into your homes for another day. We enjoy sharing our wines with everyone. We also enjoy sharing the camaraderie. And we're wishing you a wonderful week, a great glass of wine, and next week we'll see you again. So cheers.
Cheers.